Welcome, battery builders, to the channel. This is going to be a two-part series of building a LiFePO battery from scratch. So whether you're a veteran and you've done it a bunch of times, there's going to be some unique concepts in this video, or maybe more importantly, if you're brand new and never built one, this is the build series for you. I'm not going to leave anything out, going to cover it all, and I'm going to do a lot of safety checks along the way. So if you've always been worried about putting something like this together, I think these safety checks will give you the confidence to make sure that you're doing it right along the way. Part one is the top balance process, and then part two is the complete build process after top balancing. So if you're one of my RV fans, we're going to do this with 280 amp hour cells. If you're one of my kayak fans, you can do this with 100 amp hour cells for your trolling motor batteries, and I've actually done this with 100 amp hour cells for a DIY power station or a solar generator, whatever you want to call those things. So lots of use that you can put this skill to. So please like and subscribe. All right, now we get to finally put them together as an actual 12 volt equivalent battery. So the first thing I'm going to start with is some separators between the cells. As these things are bouncing down the road in an RV, this sheet of plastic around here is very thin, and they can wear. So a lot of people put dividers in between cells. It's a very good idea. I obviously think it is, but I've never seen anybody do it the way that I'm getting ready to do it, and I've done this on several batteries now, and it is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So this is part of the genius that you are getting for free today. So what I use is flexible cutting boards. The first batteries I did this with a few years back, I went and stole the ones from my wife out of the kitchen. She was a little irritated, so I had to replace them. These I just bought new. I used to always get them at Walmart, but the last couple times I've been to pick these up at Walmart, their flexible cutting boards are rough on one side. These are the exact same on both sides. So Walmart has some kind of a grip thing on there. I guess you put that counter side down, but that looks like it would cause more wear on this thin cover material than not having them. So these I got came from Bed Bath & Beyond. So if you go into Bed Bath & Beyond, just leave your man card in the truck. That way if you get stopped, they can't confiscate it from you. But so I probably won't have a link to this, but here is what they are. And again, you don't have to use Bed Bath & Beyond brand. All right, this is not rocket surgery. Doesn't have to be super precise, but I just stuck this in, made a mark there where the side is, and then up top I just kind of lined up with, can you see this, up here with kind of the top of the post, and drew a line across so it's going to be a little bit taller. And then I'm going to cut this out. Alright, so that's going to go in between cells like that. Let me get these a little bit closer. Alright, in between cells like that. Oh, turn it that way. This is sticking up. This is going to be part of our cable management. We'll see in just a minute. But if I come back over here and try to put my bus bar on, this is going to hit. So another little mark right about where the bus bar is going to be. Just come in a little bit. Oops. Make a line and make a line at the height of the cell, and we only need one corner cut. See why in a minute if you don't already see. But so we're gonna pull this, and I'm gonna cut this corner, cut Get that a little bit low. We don't want it sticking up at all. Alright, so if we put this back in between cells, and if you can see on video, but it does not stick up at all beyond the cells, and that bus bar will go on and miss this piece. And then what we're going to do is punch a hole right here for our wire management. So let me go get my hole punch. Okay, hole punch. Only hole punch I got is this 3-hole puncher. It works. So I want to make a hole about dead center of the cells, which is, we'll line up with these pressure relief valves, and we'll just put a mark somewhere there. Doesn't matter where, just so I know where the center is. I'm going to pull this out, and then my 3-hole puncher, just line up one of the holes where that dot is. I'll get the middle one so we can, and then I found if I just push it all the way in, makes a hole, and then we're going to cut a slot, see that, out of the top of this hole. There we go. So now this opens up and it's going to hold the balance leads. Again, not rocket surgery, none of this. Dimensions are particularly required to be millimeters correct, but if you're doing different size cells in these, of course you just do the same measurements. And then what I like to do is just kind of go through and round up these corners just a little bit. One is done, and when we have these batteries together, right here we need 1, we need 2, and we need 3. So I'm going to make 2 more of these. Don't need to watch all that on video. I'll get 2 more made. As a quick side note, this pack of cutting boards came with 4. So there are 4 different colors. I used the other 2 on the first battery I built. And so you need to get 3 dividers out of 2 cutting boards to make a single pack work. And I thought this through on the first battery, and I didn't think it through on the second battery. So take a look at this. If this is in the vertical position where I cut this piece out that we just made, you can't get another piece out of it. And we need 2 pieces out of 1 cutting board. But if you turn it horizontal, so to speak, then you can easily get 2 pieces out of it. So keep that in mind when you cut them. Alright, 3 dividers cut and ready to go. Alright, up until this point we've been working on these cells parallel connected. So positives all the way down here, and then negatives all the way down here. But now we need to put these together in series to make our 12-volt equivalent battery. So to do that, all we need to do is the first one, we'll just turn it opposite. We'll skip the next, and the third one we'll pull out and turn, opposite. So now we have positive, negative, positive, negative, all the way down, and then that's how we are going to build our 12-volt battery. Alright, now the dividers we just made are going to help us connect the battery and keep things straight. So I'm going to stick this orange one in the middle. I got 1 orange and 2 blues. That just makes it feng shui or something. Alright, so then the blue one, ooh, excuse me. Then the blue one, alright, we've got this corner cut off. The next blue one over here, we're going to stick between cells, and we're going to keep the cutoff corner on the opposite side. And then the next blue one, we're going to keep it, the cutoff, either on the same side as this blue one, or if you still want to look opposite side of this blue one. And so that's going to help us manage where our bus bars are going to go, because we can only put them in one place now if we alternate our dividers. So grab bus bars. All right, so bus bar 1. All right, so we're positive, negative. Come over here, bus bar 2, we go positive, negative. Bus bar 3, positive, negative. And then we're going to end up, when all is said and done, with this positive and this negative, this negative, without any bus bars, and those are going to be our main pack positive, negative terminals. So before I put any more on, I'm going to connect the nuts on this one and then show you one more safety check step. Okay, I got one set of bus bars on. These are just finger tight because we're going to have to remove 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them and add the balance leads and other cables and things to them. But I don't want anything flopping around and touching and creating a spark. That can get ugly. So we have our first bus bar connected, and so now if we do a little quick safety check and put the voltmeter on it, you can see, and I hope you can see, it's at 6.81 volts. So 3.4, 3.4, 6.81 out of the positive and negative that's not connected to the bus bar. So next we're going to do that again, and again our dividers are going to force us to put the bus bars only in the right places. So positive, negative on the next on the number 2 and number 3 cells, and that's on. And again, when you're connecting bus bars, you should never ever never get a spark or anything like that going on. If you do, something's wrong. It's time to start over, pull it off, take a look at what you messed up. Something's wrong, so there will be no sparking or arcing. So we're gonna put a nuts on. Yep. So safety check. We have a positive here and a negative here that are not connected to bus bars. So those will be our main battery leads at the moment. So positive, negative, and we're at 10.2. So 3.4, 3.4 plus 3.4 is 10.2. So everything's heading in the right direction. And then our last bus bar, again, a little divider keeps us putting it in the right place when we alternated the dividers. We have a positive and a negative. And so we put this on, and nuts. And nut. So once more, we have a different leftover positive and negative. So positive, negative. This is going to be our main pack terminals now. That is for this new battery that we're building. So positive, negative, and we're at 13.62. So there we go. There's our 3.4 times 4. So everything is hunky-dory up to this point. We got voltages as expected across all these connections, and we also didn't have any sparking, arcing, or any other funky stuff going on. So we know so far we have done it right. Alright, before we start attaching the BMS, I need to get this battery into this box. But before we do that, I got one more step. This battery fits really nicely in this box and using the spacer I showed earlier to give the room for the BMS, and everything fits very nicely. But again, bouncing down the road, there's a little bit of slop to each side, so I was thinking about what can I do for some cushion. And then if you've ever spent any time on battery building forums, there's the compress, not compress argument. You could spend literally hours and hours, maybe days and weeks, reading threads on compressing batteries, not compressing batteries, and it's like a Ford Chevy argument. You know, the guys on one side will convince you one way and the guys on the other side will convince you the other way. I'm kind of the mind that compression doesn't matter, and kind of why I ended up in that spot after all that back and forth is a one very good video. I'll try to link that in the description below, help you make up your mind or not. But I still needed, or still wanted some kind of cushion in this thing to keep it from kind of shaking side to side in there, and some compression, maybe not the end all be all, but it also doesn't hurt. So I was kind of kicking around some ideas, and then I got a little bit of an oddity that hit me. So this is a 50 feet left of what used to be a 100-foot roll of bungee cord. I don't know if you can see this in the video, but it is stretchy bungee cord. All of a sudden I can't remember where I got it. Sergeant Knots or Paracord Planet, or I'll try to put the link in the description. I buy a lot of bungee and a lot of paracord, and it's hard to find, of course, everything is these days, so I don't remember where I got this particular roll from. But I did some stretch tests on this thing, and 5 pounds kind of doubles the length across a long length, and if you wrap this stuff around the battery at a 50% stretch, that gives you like 10 pounds of force, and if you have a whole bunch of wraps, that gives you about a 4 pound per square inch compression. And I kind of played with all that math, and I don't think it really matters. But anyway, it comes out to the compression levels that all the guys that say you need compression say you need. So this cord along the side of the battery, we get a bunch of wraps here, is going to give me some cushion to the side. It's going to fill this box, and it's going to give me some compression. So that's like a win-win that for something I've never really seen done before. I did it on my first build, and it's riding around the RV right now. Seems to be working well, so I'm going to do it on this build also. Alright, to start this crazy bungee cord thing I'm doing here, I just tied a overhand loop. It's dark back here again. Tied an overhand loop, and then got the cord off the roll, just laying here, and we're going to stretch it on. And then the a secondary benefit of, or maybe a tertiary, or I don't know what it is now, but having the cord wrapped around there, again, some cushion to the side as we go up, it'll give it some compression, but it'll also allow me to pick this battery up. Otherwise, you would have to put these, drop all these cells in one by one into the battery box, and then put the bus bars and things on. Nothing wrong with that. Easy enough to do. But that's how I know this compression is working to an extent, is because it allows me to pick up the battery. I couldn't pick up the battery like this. It would bend all the bus bars and probably make a mess that you wouldn't want to deal with. So let's set up the camera and just kind of show you what in the heck this crazy guy is talking about, wrapping bungee cord on a battery. So I'm going to pull some stretch into the cord down here, and then get some wraps around this battery and keep them pretty close together, and pull some stretch in this bungee cord as I'm wrapping. So keep it, just keep pulling the stretch as it comes around. Whoop, I'm gonna lose it. It comes around, pull in the stretch, and we're going to go all the way up on this battery with all this bungee cord stretched fairly tight. Again, all right. And then this is the tricky part, is when you get to the end, it's just not as easy to tie. So I'm going to hold this back. Go down one more. Hold tight. And then somewhere in here, I'm going to just tie another overhand knot with a loop. Alright, so now we got that on there. Put some tension back in it. Keep it coming around. And then back here on this other side, I know you can't see it and I'm afraid to let it go. I'll show you when I'm done. And just a couple half hitches in there. All right, one more look at the knots, a little bit around the other side, a little bit more light. But here's the very end of the cord. I just tied an overhand knot with a loop and then run the far end of it back through there to pull. And then at the top end, or the last end of the rope, again just tied an overhand knot with a loop and then put the end through with a couple half hitches. So it's all connected and on there. All right, now I'll show you a little bit of what I did before I do it. Gosh, it's just so washed out on this screen. Hopefully you can see. But I just cut a piece of paracord that's about, when it's doubled, it's about the height of the battery. And then I ran this behind all of these loops of bungee and then just put a square knot in it. So what that does, again, is when I go to pick up this battery, or I'm lifting this battery, the first time I tried to do this, all these top pieces come flying off, and that made a mess. I had to start back over again. So this just helps that scenario. And then now, set this down, when I go to move this battery, it just feels like one solid piece. It doesn't feel like four separate cells anymore. So this bungee is compressing and helping a lot with keeping the battery together. So all I'm doing is just kind of routing this up behind all these pieces of bungee, and it. All right, so that's running all the way behind there. And then now, up a little bit, all I need to do is just square knot. You don't want it terribly loose, but you don't want it really tight either. Left to right and right over left. All right, the only way I got this battery in the box before was the battery's up here and the box is down here. I'm just going to lift it off the counter and drop it in. But before we drop, let's take a look. This is our main positive terminal. This is our main negative terminal. And we want our negative terminal close to where the divider into the battery is going to be. and we'll see why, because we're going to connect that BMS down there. So got to keep the orientation right to drop that in. So let's see how much of this I can actually get on video or not. There's the box. Can't see nothing. But here goes. Gosh, I just pulled that off. And that is not what I wanted to do, but I think we can save it. And we did. Alright, so now the battery's in the case. I saved the bungee, my paracord saved me. Last time that happened, it pulled all the way off and lost everything. But the paracord kept it from coming up too high. So all is good. Got the divider in there, and then this space is where we're getting ready to put our BMS. Alright, the next fun part, actually connecting the BMS. So this is the Jabata or a JBD BMS. I got this one from Current Connected, great company. This is a 150 amp BMS, so it is quite robust. So something I'm definitely using in the RV. Some of my kayak fans out there, if you want to build a smaller version, like a 100 amp hour version, I've used, it's the same brand BMS from Overkill Solar, 100 amp BMS instead of the 150 amp. So you're not going to use anywhere near that in a kayak situation, but in a RV, the reason I'm building these monster batteries is because I'm going to have some big loads from time to time, and even if you don't think you will, you probably will. So build a bigger battery, use a bigger BMS. This one's awesome. So it comes with quite a bit of stuff when you order it. The actual BMS here has got 2 connections. This B minus goes to the battery, so 2 leads come off, so that helps carry that extra load up to that 150 amps. And then C minus, again 2 connections going to your system or to your bus bar. Common port's what the C stands for, but charge port, I hear some people call it, but anyway, it's the one that connects to the system. The B port connects to the battery. We'll look at some more of that in a minute. This one's got 2 temp leads on it, so they were kind of curled up. I unfurled them. We'll hook those to the battery cells as we get building. It comes with a lot of stuff. This is a program module that you can connect to Windows, and this big blue cord is the one that allows you to do that. I have never used those ever, but I guess it's there if you want to play with it. And then also in there is the smaller cables, a UART cable. I have not used those in the past, but I may hook this one up. I'm going to try to connect this to my Raspberry Pi Servo at some point in time. At least I think I will, but in any event, it's not necessary. You don't need it, so we're going to get rid of this stuff. And then the other things that are in there, this is the Bluetooth connection, so you can read what your battery's doing in Bluetooth, and we'll connect that and look at what kind of data it gives us. And then the final connection, these are our actual BMS wires. So it comes with a JST plug already put on, but the other ends are bare. So now we just need to connect some eyelets on those so we can hook those to the battery. So put on some eyelets here in just 1 minute. And then the final thing, this does not come with the BMS. You got to order these separate. You could do without them, make your own, but this is just so convenient. These connectors, they'll go to these double lugs and then to the battery. I've got 2 different sizes of them. If we can see here, there's a 5/16 and a 3/8. So the 5/16 will connect to the battery itself and to the little terminals where the bus bars are, and then this one is going to connect to our terminal that allow our battery to connect to the rest of the system. So again, we'll see all that here as we put it together, but there is all the goodies that we got to work with. All right, this BMS connection, we're going to wire to our battery terminals. So it's like a 1/4 inch, 8mm I think it is, but anyway, 1/4 inch ring. I've got 1/4 inch ring terminals, but they're 16 to 14 gauge. That's probably like a 22 gauge. It's tiny. I cannot find any ring terminals locally anywhere that have a 1/4 inch and a smaller wire gauge. So what I do in that case is I strip this long, and then we'll just fold that in half when I stick it in the eyelet to crimp. So that one's stripped long, and another one I just set the well, knock that over. I don't know if I'll get this on camera or not. I just set my stop long and strip them long. So I'm going to strip the other ones like that, and we'll put the crimps on. All right, and then if we're going to crimp these a little too large connectors on these tiny wires, you need a good crimper to do this. So this one is it's a Channel Lock brand. Had it for a while, probably got it on Amazon, but some of the cheaper crimpers are gonna have an issue with a bigger wire size and a small teeny wire, but so doubling it helps. So we're gonna put this in. All right, so it is about where it should be. I don't know if you can't see too much, but I'm gonna crimp it. And the old tug test. So good crimp. All right, we're gonna do 5 more and then we'll be back. All right, so here's my BMS wire. Got all the ends on it. So there's our factory installed UART or JST type connector, and then I put the eyelets on all the wires. Okay, if you see here, we've got one black, we've got one red, and then we've got 3 whites. So we got 5 wires all together. So we are going to start with the red wire. And get a close up. So right here, get a close up of this connector. So we're going to start with the red wire on the main positive terminal. And how do we know it's the main positive terminal? Because it's the positive terminal with no bus bar. So this is our main battery terminal now, positive terminal. And then the negative terminal with no bus bar is our main negative terminal. So we're going to start with the red on the main positive terminal, and then we'll move through the line from there. All right, this plug is eventually going to go down into this space that we left with our divider. So we're going to put it towards that direction. And down there, this plug towards that direction. And we want to look get our red wire, and it is on the outside of this factory plug. And so I've taken off all the screws for ease, or nuts, excuse me, for ease of use. So this first red is going to go on our main positive terminal. Alright, and then we're gonna just put this, all these nuts on here, just finger tight. And then this is where all these holes that we made earlier on our dividers are going to come into play. So this is going to be our cable management. Never seen that done before, but I've done it on my last builds and it just seems to work out awesome. Okay, then important, we got our red wire that goes to our main system positive. We need to pick the next one in line. Can't be any of the others, got to be the next one in line. And that one is going to go to our next cell over positive. So we'll put that in, we'll put our nut on. I'm just kind of doing everything finger tight at the moment. So next cell over positive. White wire next to the red wire. Alright, then we need the next white wire over again. So see if I can get this. So we got the red wire to the first terminal, the next white wire over to the second battery, the third white wire over to the third cell. So it's on. That's on. Put it down to our cable management. Alright, and then now the last and remaining white wire and the fourth wire over goes on our last positive cell, our fourth positive cell. Right, that's on. And then finally the black wire is going to go to our main battery negative. Just like the main battery positive had a red wire, the main battery negative is going to get the black wire. So now we're not going to plug this in yet, but you do not want to plug this in if these wires are wired wrong. And I never take it to chance that you just go in order. Again, red wire, white wire is in order, black wire. But still, let's do a safety check. I always love the safety checks. Alright, I hope we can see this. I got my voltmeter set up. Here's my plug, and we're going to take our black, where am I at? Black lead from our tester, and on this side's all plastic. This side is got some little metal tabs, and we're going to stick our black lead from our tester in line with the black wire from our plug. And then just like earlier when we were putting the bus bars on and checking voltage at each bus bar step, if I poke this red wire into the white wire right beside the black one, whoops, I got 3.4 volts. Maybe you saw it. Like I said, this is a balancing act that's insane. Alright, poke it in, 3.4 volts, so it should step up just like the last time. So next one over, 6.8, 3.4, so 3.8. All right, next one over, 10.2, 3.4 plus 3.4 plus 3.4, and then finally over to our red one and full pack voltage, 13.63. So you want to make sure this thing comes out this way, because if you plug it in and it's wrong, you're going to let the blue smoke out of your expensive BMS. Right now we're in the home stretch of wiring. So here's our BMS. And here's the terminals I talked about earlier. So the B plus, I said, is the terminals that go to the battery itself. And I also told you earlier that there are two different size ends on the one I got, 5/16 and 3/8. And this is, the battery terminal is a smaller size 5/16. So we want to start with our 5/16 wide cable, and we're going to hook it to where it says B- on the BMS. So if I take that loose and get some little perspective, this is going to bolt down in this fashion and go up. Well, if you look, maybe we can see there's a good chance that this terminal is going to hit this heat sink. So we're going to bend this up a little bit to stop it from doing that. So we're just going to take this pliers and bend that up a little bit. Just kind of experiment with it. That's bolted there. Don't want it too high. Maybe yes. Gosh, every time I move, I knock this camera over. So I might do it another little smidge. Don't want it too much. But if that's there, looks like we're going to miss at that point. So I want to bend the other one and get it, both of them bolted down. Okay, I got all the Y cables installed. Again, just kind of bent these tabs up just slightly so they're not touching this heat sink. And just a minute ago I had it in the wrong orientation. We need all these cables kind of pointing the same direction to where those are. And again, we got our B-, it's going to be sticking out the furthest. That's going to go directly to our battery terminals, and then this other one is going to go to, or these are directly to our cell terminals. Get my terminology correct. And then this one is going to go to the main negative battery terminal. Now, while we're here, we want to look for a minute, and we've got all these other cables in the way now. You see there's two places to plug stuff in at the moment. One labeled UART. We don't want that one. We want our BMS lead to go into this where it says BC4 BCO. So that's where it's going to plug in. Not too much of a way to mess it up. That's got 5 prongs. That's got 4 prongs. So if you're trying to plug it in a 4-prong into 5-prong into there, it's not going to fit. But we just need to remember it goes into that corner. That will be the last thing we want to do. We don't want to plug it in yet. Just for note to where that's going in. And then now there's our space from our divider. And we're going to drop this BMS into this slot. Push it down into that slot. And then there it is. It's relatively secure in there. These cables are pushing against the side of the box, so it's not going to flop around too much. And so now we need to start connecting. So here is our 5/16 connector, if you can see that. And we need to get it right here on this main negative terminal. So I'm going to get a nut and get that screwed down. Need both hands to do that. I'm holding the camera right now, so we'll do that and be back. Okay, our BMS B- wire is connected to the terminal. With these double terminal cells, I really like those because I can keep a BMS connection separate from my main power connections. But if you have a single terminal cell, you just want to put the BMS wire on top of your main load wire. So your main load wire has the best contact to the terminal. But again, these things make it really, really nice. So now we've got, looks like a mess of wires. We'll clean this up and wire tie some of this together when we get to plugging that in. This is our positive. So we've got the cable to the battery or to the cells for the negative from the BMS. Now we need to set up a positive cable. Alright, now next, to get our main terminal connections, this is our battery box lid, just so we get a little visual what we're doing. This end is our negative. There's our negative still sticking out. And then these are the terminals that I'm using. These things are massive, but that's what I ordered. That's what I wanted. I want to be able to run some air conditioning on battery for at least a little bit. So got big terminals to carry some big loads. So this negative one, way I'm going to do it now, at least I hope, this way I did my other battery, is I'm going to drill this into here. You see the other side, drill this into there, sticking up like Mickey Mouse ears. You could put them here and here, doesn't really matter, but I think the orientation that I'm going to put the batteries in the RV, this will work. If it don't, I can always just re-drill them over here, doesn't matter. So I've got to drill the holes to get these in, and then we also have to make our positive cable. So I have this cable. It is a 4-gauge 19-inch. It's got 5/16 terminals on each end, and I don't need 19 inches, but what I need is about half that. And these batteries, like I said, have dual terminals, which is nice for carrying loads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this lead in the middle. I have 2 ends to go there, and then I have 2 more ends that we're going to crimp on my cut, or 2 more terminals I'm going to crimp on my cut, that is then going to hook to this battery terminal. So that is the plan for the next several steps. Alright, so I'm going to just take this cable and get the ends as close as possible with a bend in the middle, and then we're just going to take my cutter and we're going to cut this in half. Alright, so that is cut in half. And then we're going to go get our new terminal. Alright, so there's our cable cut. And then I've got new terminals. I think I got these from O'Reilly because AutoZone was out. I got the cable at AutoZone and the box at AutoZone, and O'Reilly was out, or AutoZone was out of the terminals. You know, I'll try to put some package pictures in there. Maybe I won't have links for these things because I got them in the store. But I want to strip the insulation on this cable back to about, whoops, right there. So we'll go in all the way. So just take my cutters and gently cut and twist, squeeze and twist, kind of feel that I'm not cutting cable, I'm just cutting insulation, and finally twist off. So there we go, and all of our twisting kind of twisted our wires together, which is good. And then this terminal is going to go in there like that. Now I'm going to crimp it. Alright, when you're crimping terminals on larger wire like this, you always want to kind of figure out the orientation first. So here's my terminal. It'll be kind of floating out here in space where the battery top is. So if I have a wire connected there, this terminal, and this thing is going to fold up, and the big battery terminal is going to be somewhere right about there in space when it's in the lid, then this new terminal needs to be in about the same orientation as that terminal. So again, you just kind of need to pre-plan that before you crimp something this big, or if you'll never twist your wire around to where it doesn't want to go. So same plane, same orientation for this wire. So now let's crimp it. Alright, this is my crimper. It's a hammer crimper. Lift this up, put the terminal in here, and then you pound this with a hammer. It's going to be something solid. So I'm going to take this over in the garage with some good solid concrete, and we'll play whack-a-mole on it with a fair size ball peen hammer. Alright, here's my crimper. I got the lug in there, and again this back side of this one, you keep it flat, so again they're in the same orientation. So let's turn this around this way, and the wire just goes into the lug. This piece is kind of holding it. I'm gonna turn it around that way. Now in view, just a little tap so that thing is kind of holds itself in place, and then whack it. So crimp comes out, pretty solid crimp. Alright, and since this is actually the positive connection and it's black, it doesn't matter because it's going to be hidden in the battery box and no one's ever going to see it to get it confused with something. And of course our terminal is red, but I'm still going to put a piece of red heat shrink on this just to seal that connection. And since I'm only doing a couple of them, I'm going to light it. If I was doing a bunch, I'd break out the heat gun, but this is good enough. Okay, one last look at mock-up. So there's my two cables we just made. This terminal will eventually go on like that, and then this thing's going to be hooked into the lid up here. So that's the basic design of the positive. That terminal's going to connect, it's already doubled on the downside, remember, going to connect to the negative terminal. So now I'm going to tighten up all of these nuts. I'm not going to make you watch that on the video, but you get the point. I'm going to go through and tighten up all these lugs so they're good and snug, and then we got to drill some holes in our lid back there to put these terminals in. Alright, we're in the home stretch. So now we're going to put the terminals on our lid. Now this terminal is about 1.25 inches. You read that? 1.25 inches. So, of course, 1¼ is the only hole saw on the planet that I don't have. But this 1 3/8 is about 1/8 too big, but seems to work. Worked on my last build, so I'm going to use it on this one. So to start off, I've got a hole on this end already. Cleaned it up a little bit, didn't really matter. Nobody's going to see it. But to put one on this side, the easiest thing to do is just take a pencil and go diagonal corner to corner. Find our center point. And then got a tiny little pilot hole I'm going to drill first. Let's see. Just to keep the hole saw from walking. Alright, put our hole saw in. And it's got a little, I don't know if you can see that pilot bit. I'm just going to put it in the pilot bit on the little hole we just drilled, and there we go. We got a hole. So let's come back forward with our battery. All right, so we've got way down here, I can't see on the, get up a little bit. All right, back here we've got our positive, right here we got our negative, and this thing is going to sit this way with the holes there, so I need to put the negative terminal on this close side. So just gonna poke it through. It's got a giant nut. It's not all the way tight, but you get the idea. Put the red one on that end. You don't need to see turning nuts twice. But what we do need to do is get some of our final wiring done and cleaned up before we set our lid on for the last time. Okay, last checks before we button it up. So we've got all of our lugs tightened. I did all that off camera, but they're all tight. My wires, I put a couple little wire ties here and there on my BMS wires. We still don't have the BMS plugged in yet. Show you one more thing before we do that. Here is the temperature sensor. So I got one over here and I got one right there. I'm going to put a little piece of tape on the side of this battery there and stick one over there. So that's pretty simple, easy enough without having to see it. And then just show you one more little curiosity before we plug in the BMS, so we can see the voltmeter. If I touch our main positive and our main negative system, we're at 3.6162 voltage. All right, so this is our lead, and I don't know if you can see this. So this cable, down, it's not in the video, but this cable down this far end is our positive lead. This cable sticking up here is now going to be our negative lead, and it is connected, this wire is connected to the BMS, going into the BMS, and this one is coming out of the BMS. So right now, if I put the test leads on both of these terminals, you see we got maybe 8 volts. So that's because the BMS is not energized. So we're not getting full pack voltage yet. We need to plug in the BMS. So that's what we're going to do next. And just remember, earlier in the video we double checked that we have all of our wires in the right order. Won't do that again. But then all we need to do to plug in BMS is just plug in. And again, we've got to be connected. The main terminal's got to be connected before we do this. And plugged in. Alright, I don't know if we can see on camera, but there is a little blue light flashing down here. So the BMS is powered up. Now, if I set this back screen, that's a little better. So now, positive on this lead down here, negative on that lead, and voila. You can see that we got 13.6. So our BMS is powered up. Our BMS is happy. We didn't screw anything up. That is always a good sign. So now these wires, I'm just going to fold them down into this pocket. They're kind of crazy. Doesn't really matter if they're okay. I'm not going to be in the way of anything, get snagged on anything. Nothing's going to touch them. They're out of the way. And then this is our Bluetooth module that we looked at earlier. We want to plug that in. So I'm going to plug that in. The only other available port on this BMS, we looked at that earlier, and I'm going to plug that in. All right, and on this on this BMS module, it should have a flashing light also, and it does not yet. It always freaks me out when it's been a while since I built a battery and it doesn't light up. But then I remember, gotta go in and connect it to the app. So the app, I don't know if we can see this, is Zhangzhou. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. I heard some other folks pronounce it that way. Zhangzhou app. You can get that from Current Connected or Overkill Solar or wherever you get your BMS from. They usually have a link for the app. So I'm going to open that app, and I have several of these BMSs connected. There's several of them listed here. This one does not have a name, so I'm going to connect to that, and it's not even connected on the screen yet. Oh, there it goes. Comes up on the screen. Can we see? And we've got a bunch of settings to go through. So this is going to be hard to see the way I've got it set up now. Maybe I'll do a little separate thing on the settings. But now that it is connected, and again, I hope we can see this. All right, we've made it to the final step. So I think my video cut off. I'm out of space. But I got the BMS, this Bluetooth module, it's lit up. So on the other one, I like to have this on the outside of the box. These things from these BMSs, they have a pretty long transmission distance. I'm quite impressed. But put it on the outside of the box. I guess that helps. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So I'm going to set this over to the side out of the box. And then this is kind of tricky, tedious. But I've got my box, got my both my terminals in there. And then we need to put these terminals on. Now, the red one's a little bit longer. So, okay, I think it is easier to get this negative on first because it's so short. There's not much room to work with. So that tab, I kind of bent it at a slight angle like I was doing on the BMS side to get it in there, but it's on there and it's bolted. And so now we're going to bolt the positive end. And there are the positive terminal connections. So they're on, everything's together. So this lid just shuts down and snaps in there. And there it is, complete, lid's on, fits nice. This box is really well designed. It's got a spot coming across here for a strap to fit. Strap actually comes with it, along with some footman loops or whatever you want to call them that bolt down to the RV, and we'll see that a little bit later when this gets installed into the RV. We just still got the Bluetooth module hanging out on my other battery. I stuck it right here, and that's working out good. I'm going to leave this loose for the moment. This battery and my one that's currently in there is moving locations, so I'll just leave that out, put it someplace where it's out of the way once it's into its new home. But it is ready to rock. Lots of unique things in this build. There's lots of lithium battery builds out there, but did a few different things and just makes a really nice, compact, neat, clean package. As you can see, it almost looks like a factory battery when you're done. So like and subscribe. Like I said, this is going into the RV with a complete Victron system in there. I've already got some stuff in the RV. I've got a Raspberry Pi running the Servo software, a Victron shunt, and MPPTs. Ordering the Multiplus to put in there, and links distributor, and some of those good things. So all that's going in the RV. It's going in a pretty unique way. So like and subscribe. All those videos are coming, and you can see some more unique build ideas for your RV in the Victron equipment. We'll see you on the next video.